Okay, welcome guys. I just want to do a little follow-up video following a number of requests for me to go through the rest of the Unit 2 January 2022 exam paper. A couple of people wanted me to do the merit to distinctions again, which if I have time, I will definitely try to get done before your exam, which is coming up later next week. But I also want to make sure I've got some stuff for this first years as well, looking at Unit 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the first half of the January 2022 Unit 2 exam paper. If you want to look at the second half of the paper, I do go through that in a lot more detail in the video that I recently posted on the merit to distinction. So I'll leave a link for that in the description below for you to have a look at if you want to. So I'm going to go through, as I always do, paper by or question by question. We'll think about answers. I'll make some notes on the right hand side over here, and then obviously we'll think about what I would put. Now, as I say, with previous papers and previous videos, the January 2022 papers haven't had their mark scheme released. So any suggestions, any predictions, any guesses that I write here, I can't confirm with the mark scheme, but I will hopefully follow it up with maybe another video later on where I'll come back and I'll look at what I said before. So we'll go through the first two questions, section 1, section 2, or scenario 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4 I've already covered. So the first question we have here talks about Brandusa, who's 34 and lives on her own with her newborn son, Darius. She has type 1 diabetes, and before having Darius, it was well controlled through diet and insulin. Since she's had Darius, she's found it difficult to manage diabetes, and she has no family or friends nearby to support her. So the first question, which is for 2 marks, it says identify 2 health professionals who could help support her with her diabetes. So off the bat, as always, the standard one I'm going to go for is her GP. Could be a specialist diabetes nurse. Could be a nutritionist. And if it mentions that it was managed through diet and insulin, so maybe nutritionist as well. And where I'm based in Essex, we are what we call a needs area. So it's Northeast Essex diabetes specialist area. So again, as most of our health centres are kind of focused on diabetes, so maybe we could talk about, I'm going to put hospital consultant / specialist in the field now. Again, that last one I'm not 100% on, but as I say, GP, specialist diabetes nurse, district nurse, there's a lot of people you could include who would help with diabetes. So as I say, I'm guessing on that, but hopefully when we get a chance to look at the mark scheme, we may be correct. And then it says describe 2 roles of the health visitor who will support Brandusa after having Darius. So 2 roles, 2 parts of their job. So one role is to perform health checks and monitor the growth and development of Darius. So that's one job of the health visitor. They look at the baby, they monitor their growth, they monitor their development, and they're making sure that they are healthy. I'll just put that as a capital. That's one way or one role of a health visitor. Another role is to offer Brandusa support and guidance with looking after a newborn, such as advice on feeding / informing of baby groups. Now, I know that's a slightly longer response in those, but again, if you're ever unsure do a little bit more is my kind of rule. So obviously we've mentioned support and guidance for Brandusa, and then they've got the example of informing her about feeding and baby groups. Again, health checks and monitor the growth of baby Darius. Again, that's kind of the health checks, and then growth and development Darius. That's kind of our two responses there. Let's say that's what I would put, and that's what I feel would be appropriate. But as always, we obviously will have to double check with the mark scheme when it's released. Okay, and then we move on to 1C, which has 6 marker. So 6 marks, 6 minutes, 6 things. And it says explain the barriers that may affect Brandusa accessing the services she may need. Now, barriers to care obviously are things that would stop. So essentially stop Brandusa from accessing care/support. That's what we're looking at here. So this could be financial and transport barriers. So potentially it could be that she is unable to afford the cost of travel to a local health service, or lacks transportation in order to get there. So that could be one barrier. And particularly if we're thinking about the fact she's a single parent mother, so I even add that as Brandusa is a single parent, she may, I'm going to not assume, may able to afford the costs. So that's our first reason. And again, we've got a point and we've explained it. We could maybe look at that there is a social stigma to being a single parent, and Brandusa may feel that she will be judged or seen as unable to cope. Newborn, and so is hesitant to. So again, this is a more of a social barrier. So the idea that cope. Oh, I spelled it wrong. Because again, my typing isn't and spelling generally isn't fantastic. So again, we've got a financial barrier. We've got the social stigma attached to being a single parent. Could be a barrier. And she may feel that she's being judged. So again, we've got a barrier and then a little explanation of what it is. And maybe we could go with geographical. Services and support for Brandusa, e.g. diabetes support may not be in her local area, and so limits the amount of support. Again, I'm not 100% on that last one, because geographical barriers, I don't know how similar that is to kind of the transport barriers point I've made. But again, if you're thinking about barriers, it doesn't really mention in the item itself that she has, mental health, which could again create a barrier, or a language barrier. But what I'm going to do, I'll stick one more on. You're never ever unsure. Add one more. So I'm going to put awareness barriers, and the idea that Brandusa may not be aware of support groups or medical services in her area that she can access, creating a barrier to care. So again, ever unsure, add one more. So this little extra one here is unnecessary. It wants 3, or essentially 6 marks. It needs 3 kind of points, but I've put an extra one on just in case. If that geographical barrier is a bit too similar to one of the above, hopefully this could pick up the slack. Okay, and then we move on to the 8 marker, the final question here. So this says discuss why the health and social care professionals working with Brandusa should communicate effectively with each other. So this is a question that sometimes I think learners can read part of the question and they then go off on that jump in point. So again, it says why the health and social care professionals working with Brandusa should communicate effectively with each other. So this isn't about communication with the patient or the individual. This is the services communicating with each other. So it's got its hallmarks of multidisciplinary, multi-action, teams working together. That's what this is asking, and it's about why the professionals should do this. So I'll put a bullet point list of things that we could think about and obviously include in this. So one of the things, obviously, effective communication will allow patient information to be shared between professionals, ensuring all practitioners are up to date with the treatment Brandusa. Obviously, this is going to, again, there's a few typos here, so just practitioner. I'll come back to that because I don't know the spelling. If you do, drop it in the chat. So we got the idea about effective communication. This can, obviously, we can put this prevents effective communication, prevents duplication, or unsafe combinations being provided. So that could be another way in which this could be beneficial. So again, if they're sharing information, then they can make sure they're not duplicating it. We can have concerns or safeguarding risks can be easily identified, shared to ensure the safety of Brandusa barriers. So again, this has got the hallmarks of, baby P kind of ideas, that in that case, the services interacting with her were not communicating, they were not sharing their concerns, their ideas, and that led to unfortunately the death of baby Peter. So again, by making sure, I'm not implying that Brandusa is an abusive parent, but it's one of those things that this is kind of slightly more beyond the idea of, that this is highlighting concerns, this is highlighting risks, this is making sure treatments are provided. This we can put obviously the idea of holistic care. So again, it's a full person approach. So effectively, there are no gaps in care offered, and support covers physical, emotional, social, financial. So again, we've got the idea that there are no gaps in there. Obviously, problems. Again, because we're talking about discuss why it's important, it's one of those things where it's quite easy to kind of say this is why you do it. So it's effective communication. And unfortunately, what we can maybe put is a however, effective communication can be disrupted by health professionals using different care systems. But health professionals / agencies, because we're also, if we're talking about social care, different care systems or not fully updating patient. So again, I think we've got a range of points here of why it's important for professionals to use effective communication. And again, what you want to try and do with an 8 mark is try and put a balance in. And I've tried to, again, it's not a fantastic one, and the mark scheme will probably provide some clarity there, but I've tried to give a reason of why agencies may not fully work well, why communication may not be brilliant. So again, enough points there for an 8 marker. 4 key reasons why communication is good, plus a little extra bonus problem of doing so. That would, I think, would be sufficient for this question. We're focusing on the communication between agencies. And now let's move on to section 2. So this is about learning disability. We come back to a new character, a new question. Be now 2A. And this is about Sophie, who's 17 and has learning disabilities. She lives in a residential unit for young people with learning disabilities, where you are employed as a support worker. So this was what was interesting about this 2022 paper, was often the final question, scenario 4, places you in the context of you are a care worker, you are supporting someone, whereas this paper, it had it on question 2 and question 4. So I thought that was a slight change that we've not really seen happen before in these questions. So you are a care worker, you're employed in a support worker on a unit. Sophie wants to work part-time but isn't sure how to get a job as she's never worked before. So it says, identify 2 work-related skills needed by a support worker. So this is for you as a support worker, 2 skills, work-related skills that you may need. And I think based on the back of the last question, we can talk about effective communication skills. So that's one thing. So you would need communication skills. That would be an important one. Other skills that you might need as a support worker, work-related skills, we could put patience / empathy. We could put care, if we're going with the communication skills, the 6 C's as a care worker or someone working in care, so care could be an effective one. Again, I'm taking a guess, but I would say communication, patience, empathy, in questions that have been very similar to this in the past. Excuse me. This is the type of answer that has been credited. As I say, when the mark scheme is released, we can come back and double check this, but it's more about the skill. And I said work-related skill. We could even be more specific. So if you want to be more practical, we could talk about kind of work-related skills as a support worker. So you might need to be able to conduct risk assessments or be aware of safeguarding. So that could be another way of looking at it. But obviously the second question, just spotted it, leads into safeguarding. So that may be a bit too close to it. But it says 2 ways you can make sure Sophie is safeguarded. So this is about Sophie being protected. So, so safeguarding, how you protect someone. So we could, in the terms of our role as a support worker, we could be aware of risks and hazards in the environment and conduct risk assessments to maintain Sophie's well-being, health and well-being. Then also say, if again we're trying to safeguard, we can make sure make sure Sophie is aware of her rights and offer sure he is informed of how to raise concerns or use to me or other members of staff. So again, how you make sure she's safe, because she knows how she can raise concerns or tell you about concerns. First one is obviously you're looking out for hazards, and the second one is you're making sure Sophie knows how to raise her rights. Again, from similar questions around safeguarding, these have been the kind of things that have been accredited in the past. So in my head, these would be safe answers to go for. Obviously, when the mark scheme gets released, we can double check that. So that's 2B and 2C. And now we move on, sorry, 2A and 2B, and now we move on to 2C. This question says, explain how Sophie can be supported in achieving her goal of getting a job. So she wants to get a job, and that's the thing we want to do. So things that we can do to help Sophie might be provide some basic training or support in getting onto courses to help develop her skills, such as communication, so that could be one way we do this. We could help Sophie with her with creating and applying for jobs, interview preparations, and maybe again just double checking what our role is. It says we're a support worker, isn't it? A support worker, yes. So we could maybe again achieve her goals in helping Sophie find some work experience and escorting her to the job e.g. So again, I'm not fantastically proud of these responses, but I would hope I've given some arguments here. Again, basic training like communication, helping her with a CV, conducting interview preps before obviously getting a job, and helping her find some work experience, escorting her to her work experience there. And even again, highlighting some charity organisations. Not my best work, but I would hope it would be sufficient. Again, without seeing the mark scheme, I'm kind of taking a guess at this one of what I would say and what I would consider to be appropriate. I've seen questions again in the past of similar situations, and there's been things like getting an alarm clock for the individual, creating a timetable, helping them find the bus to get to their job experience or work. So again, based on prior questions, which have been similar to this in the past, I would hope these would still be considered appropriate. And lastly, 2D. So this is the last one we'll do this morning or on this video. So it says, discuss why conflict might arise when promoting Sophie's rights, choices, and well-being. So conflict, obviously, in this case, is ensuring that Sophie has what she wants. And again, it could be where conflict arises. So the goal, or Sophie's goal, and when conflict. So conflict could arise as the work that Sophie wants to undertake is not suitable or safe for her to be doing. It could be that the work clashes with potential medical appointments or sessions at residential unit. The working hours suitable. Maybe you can put things like Sophie is not ready or skilled for the work. So these clashes, and again, the clash is about obviously Sophie's goal, respecting Sophie's wishes and keeping Sophie safe. That would be the clash. So again, Sophie's wishes and keeping Sophie safe. So that's where we're kind of thinking about this goal and this clash. And I'm just going to double check the item again. Lives in a residential unit for people with learning disabilities. You're employed. She wants to work part-time, unsure how to get a job, has never worked before. Yeah. So again, it's that idea that, you know, this is where the conflict comes. Sophie wants to get a job. You want to keep her safe as a care worker. And so conflict could be that, you know, what she wants to do is not suitable or safe for her to be doing, but based on her skill. Work clashes, potential medical appointments or sessions at the residential unit, meaning that she would not be getting support or losing social connections in the unit. A little bit kind of padding these out to help it. Working hours are not suitable and would not fit the schedule on the residential unit. And Sophie's not ready or skilled for it. So it's very similar to the top bit. Again, she's not ready for it, but again, work with that. So that's some of the ways in which this could be problematic. Maybe even the job / employment she wants to undertake does not offer support or assistance she would need while at work. So again, particularly the sense she has a support worker, if some kind of support system isn't in place, that could be problematic. Could also give and go, the work is dangerous. Work could be dangerous. So I've got a few extra on there. Again, if you're ever unsure, do a little bit more if you've got the time, and hopefully that will be enough to kind of highlight some of the concerns, some of the issues with Sophie taking on this role. Okay, so that's the first two questions done. Now, as I said before at the very beginning, I've already taken a very deep look at question 3 or scenario 3 with Yusuf, and I did the comparison of the merit and distinction grade answers from the students. So again, if you want to look at that, take a look at the video. I'll leave the link in the description below. Same with section 4. We did a very deep look at this question, looking at 2 student responses, 1 merit, 1 distinction, and looking at the differences in what they wrote. As always, I hope this has been helpful. Please like and subscribe if you found the video useful. Obviously, leave any comments below if you've got any ideas on how I could have answered questions differently. That would be good to hear from you. What other ideas could you include for different questions? That might help each other out. And again, as we're getting close to the summer exam series of 2022, if you're preparing for that summer exam, good luck with those, and obviously do your best in those. And as always, thanks for watching and take care.